I've got about 10 minutes before I'm going to look at a car for sale, and so I thought I would make this quick video to just discuss some books that I've been reading and things that I've been thinking about when it comes to improving at Melee and getting better. Hey, I'm Mecca from Melee.co, and in this episode I'll specifically be talking about two books. One is The Inner Game of Tennis, and one is a book called Flow, which is a book written by a psychologist about getting into a state of flow. You know, those states where you really feel focused in, you feel like you're learning, you're achieving your best, you know, when you're in that sort of state. So I want to talk about those two different books. So the first book that I read was the Inner Game of Tennis, which is about, you know, the mentality towards tennis, but you can basically apply it to any sport. And that book was really good. I had some reservations about that book because it's written by someone it's kind of anecdotal, written from their experiences they've seen or had with other players, but it's not written by a psychologist who has actually taken an experimental approach to the inner game of sports and how to achieve the best. So, you know, I have some reservations in terms of the recommendations of the book and the way that they got them, just because, like, you probably don't know this about me, but I'm very passionate about psychology, about neuroscience, the way the brain works. And in terms of psychology, so many psychologists and scientists have gotten things wrong over time, and you need very specific experimental designs to be actually able to prove stuff in psychology. And in terms of the inner game of tennis, they don't have that rigor, and so some of the recommendations could potentially be false. Like they could be true, that they could be false. But something that I got out of it that I thought was really good was just having a disassociation with your results. So it talks about when you play, there's kind of, you're at wars with two different versions of yourself. So there's your, like, the more conscious self that's like, I need to hit this L cancel, I need to hit this float cancel fair into grab, and you're trying to focus on these situations. It's yourself who's getting frustrated when you're not doing the right thing. It talks about that, and it talks about the second self, or self two, it calls it, who's just the almost unconscious self or subconscious self who just kind of does things. Like, it's a muscle memory that hits the L cancel. It's the person inside you that when you switch your brain off or when you listen to music, you start playing really well anyway. And so it talks about this dichotomy of the selves and how to quiet self one, the conscious self, and how to basically let self two do its work. And it talks about in tennis, if you do that, if you disassociate yourself and let self two take over, then you generally get better results. However, you know, I had issues with this because, and wife explained it to me a bit better, but in terms of the way the book describes it and the way I interpreted it, it didn't really explain how to incorporate self one and use that towards your gameplay. And I really didn't like that, because it's like, well, just rely on your subconscious self. But Melee is such a conscious game. Like, you need to be understanding these micro situations. What are your different options in these situations? Even all the pros, anyone who plays Melee talks about theory crafting, where they might be driving, like, or in the car like I am now, and they're thinking about different situations. And, you know, if they're like on the ledge as Peach and there's a falcon there ready to hit them, what's the best way to get back? Or, you know, if there's a Marth there, what are my different options? What can I do? And thinking about these in their minds while they're not even playing. Like, it's such a conscious game. And so the inner game of tennis kind of annoyed me because it didn't really address that. Like, it talked about quieting the annoying version of yourself that's getting you down, that's making you frustrated, and I find that there's value in that. But it didn't really address the situation where, well, you actually need to approach this game super consciously in order to understand what to do in each situation. So the inner game of tennis is really good to help you disassociate yourself and to understand that, hey, like, I need to be less conscious in some situations, but it's not a perfect book. I then read a book by John Wooden, something about the pyramid of success. I don't know. The book was really, really annoying. I'm a Christian, right? And I went to Bible college. I did 2.5 years at Bible college. I did church for many years. Currently not in church because of disagreements I have with, you know, some of the ways they treat people, but that's a whole nother story. But I still believe in God. You know, I'm a passionate Christian. But this book by John Wooden, who's this famous basketball coach from the 60s, it's like 80% scripture / preaching, and like 20% the meat of like how to be a good player, how to be a good mentor. But he talks about similar stuff to the inner game of tennis, where he talks about having a disassociation with results, talks about focusing and trying to do the best that you can do, not worrying about the outcome of the game, but just being the best you that you can be. And I really liked that and how that matched up with the inner game of tennis. And then I read a book called Flow. Well, I'm listening to the audiobook, which is like old school sort of tapes that have been converted into an audiobook. So it's not perfect. But they're talking about the same sort of thing in terms of disassociating yourself from results. And in order to get into a flow state, if you're worried about results, if you've got these nagging feelings or nagging goals in the back of your mind, like things that are stressing you out, it stops you from getting in these flow states. However, if you're just focusing on the complex issues at hand, you're trying to get better, you're trying to overcome these challenges, that's when you get into a flow state. And so for me, the way I'm going to approach it moving forward is not worry whether I win or lose, because I'm not the best anyway at the moment. I'm not going to win any tournaments. I might play slightly better than I did last time, but that doesn't matter. But focus on each individual game, focus on learning from each individual game, and focus on situations and just enjoy the complexity of the situations and thinking about what I can do. So for example, last night, my friend Tane got really excited because he discovered that as Peach, when you're shielding, Falcon can do a knee on you near the ledge. He's within your spacing, so you go for a shield grab, and he can then jab you and gentleman you. And he realized that, well, hey, in that situation, I go for the shield grab, he jabs me, I could crouch cancel, down smash that, and get a hit in on him, making it basically, well, it's shield positive, but it's not a good situation for Falcon. And so he was so excited about that, and that was really exciting to learn that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, when I approach the game, rather than focusing on, will I win, will I lose, I need to focus on, okay, this is continually happening to me. This is a complex circumstance. What are some complex ways out of it? Or what are some things that I can do to get out of it? And just enjoy that experience. Just enjoy the difficulty and the challenge and trying to overcome that challenge. So less focus on the game as a whole, how I'm doing in the tournament as a whole, and more focus on like individual situations, individual stocks, and, you know, what am I doing in this matchup? You know, I'm in the middle of the stage, I got a shield, Falcon keeps stomping my shield, I can't seem to punish him in any way. What can I do in that situation? And just enjoying that, just having fun in that situation and having fun trying to solve the solution. That's, according to the book Flow, is how you get in the state of flow and you really enjoy yourself. So that's something that I'm going to be trying. Look, I need to go and check out this new car that we are looking at buying, but I hope that this has been interesting to you. I definitely recommend checking out the book Flow if you haven't read it already and you're interested in getting better at Melee. In a Game of Tennis is pretty good as well, but I'm not 100% sure if I'd recommend it. And as well, there's a John Wooden book, which I don't like, such great ideas in it, but so painful to read or listen to. So I don't recommend it. And that's a Christian talking about a very Christian book. So I don't know. It was too annoying for me talking about so much scripture and stuff like that. I just wanted to learn how to be a better player. And I appreciate God in all the big things, but I don't know. Anyway, I got to go. So until next time, keep calm and play Melee.